Welcome to another edition of WC Conversations. I'm Jamie Kramble, Investment Attraction Specialist with Wheatland County. And I have today my colleague in the Royal Purple shirt, Patrick Earl, who is the Economic Development Officer with the county. And we have a special guest on with us today, Markus Lehmann, who is the President of Navigatio Capital. I've worked with Markus at the province of Alberta as well. He's also a new board member for Wheatland County Economic Development Board. So we're quite happy and excited to have Markus here. Markus, do you want to kind of give us an introduction to yourself and your background?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank both you, Jamie, and Patrick for this opportunity to sit virtually in front of you and expose all the dirty stuff in the closet. But no, it's a great privilege to be here. Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention, Jamie, is as we progress in the conversation, one of the you mentioned that we worked together, that we engaged in some stuff, and because of the engagements that were provided by Alberta government and the Stampede Investment Forum, that has provided for a basis for business development and investment attraction. So it's been very successful, most definitely. We can go into more details of that, but yeah, just a quick 20,000-foot overview of myself and sort of my background. Born and raised in Calgary, but at age 5 we moved out to Wheatland County, just outside of Cheadle, onto a mixed production agricultural farm, and that definitely opened up my eyes to all the potentials in the world, not only because of the landscape and the horizons around us, because Wheatland County is a blessed geographical location to have such a vision and such an ample perspective on the world, but also the agricultural production and see how that's evolved. We had cattle production, we had a smaller feedlot, worked in partnership with some great people, and then grain production. As that evolved, my father sort of had a vision to expand, and land prices were getting very expensive, relative at that time, relative of course,
Right.
in the 70s, and we went and expanded our operations up to the Peace Country. So I got a good overview of agriculture throughout Alberta, and we had to basically close up shop, and through various difficult times of high interest rates and droughts and the like, and that promoted me to say, well, after graduation, maybe I should see what's out to the rest of the world, and that led me to exploring sort of the world in a different dimension. I went to Australia, did work on an agriculture production there on a farm of 16,000 acres and 16,000 head of sheep. So it was an eye-opening experience. But that's where I was introduced to a different lifestyle, which was sailing. I got introduced to a sailing vessel with a historic tall ship, and long story short, I became a crew member on that vessel, and it transformed my life for the next 20 some years. I sailed throughout Australia to Africa, sailed throughout Europe, and then at a certain point, together with friends that I'd met on these expeditions, we decided that we would build our own, and it turned out being the largest wooden vessel in all of South America. We built that by hand in the Brazilian Amazon, and that's where I spent a good portion of the next portion of my life. So I spent 23 years in Brazil.
Wow.
Working with that vessel, and that integration of the vessel allowed a true connectivity with not only the sailing environment, but also business environment, as we did a lot of business events, and ministerial environment. We did a lot of government activities and cultural activities. So it really opened up the breadth of knowledge of Brazil and business and the like. But it was very difficult. So in 2014, I decided that I should shed the Peter Pan complex and get into real life. And I then did my master's, a triple master's in Georgetown University in Washington, and a leading think tank in Brazil, Fundação Getúlio Vargas, and ESADE, a leading business college in Spain. And that really started opening up my eyes as per the influx of capital, or the exchange of capital around the world, how important that is in developing infrastructure, developing sort of macroeconomical designs. And I started working with Indian firms and European firms, bringing their interests into the South American market. And at a certain point, I was called by the Danish Sovereign Wealth Fund to represent their interests as an advisor in Brazil, and started attracting projects towards their interests. It is there that I opened up my eyes to the declining costs of generation of renewable energy, and it was shocking to me. The decline of over 95% in the last 12 years of solar and wind generation was something that just became overwhelming to my cognitive senses. And I said that this is where the future of capital investments will occur, especially in infrastructure, in the power segment, energy segment. And I then in 2018 decided to bring family back to Alberta. Wanted to get close to my parents again, because they're doing very well, but not getting younger. And also have my children get the Canadian experience. And they've adapted themselves very well. But it led me to think, well, what am I going to do? There's no farm to go back to. There's oil and gas is not. I'm by any means a specialist. I know nothing about oil and gas, and there are so many people in the Alberta market that do. So I wouldn't bring anything to the table that wasn't already here. So I decided to focus my activities on in attracting investment into the renewable energy segment, and that is where I participated in the Stampede Investment Forum, and actually met what would become our first partner with the investment with the private equity firm that I brought to Canada, Dan Balaban and Greengate Power. And together with my connections with the Sovereign Wealth Fund and private equity in Denmark, we struck a deal with the acquisition, or the partnership of Greengate and Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners, for what is now, what will become at some point, Canada's largest renewable energy project, which is located in the Wheatland County, and should start construction here in the very near future. And it will be a very large project. It's over 500. It's approximately 550 million Canadian of direct investment into the Alberta economy. When it is producing at full blast, it would produce approximately 7 to 8% of all of Alberta's energy in its peak. Yeah. But it's 715 megawatts peak and 565 megawatts AC. So it's a very large project. It's about the third largest in North America at the moment.
Very interesting. I envy your background. I've done a bit of traveling, but nothing like what you've done. And with your life experience in Brazil, and Brazil being kind of the home to a lot of very, very, very wealthy agribusiness company owners down there. It's amazing. Yes. Even JBS is a Brazilian owned firm, and there's others that until I started exploring and looking into it, I had never heard of. Wow. Yeah, we're lucky to have you.
I'll give you an anecdotal. So my first transaction was with the large cooperatives in the
Right.
south part of Brazil, and these cooperatives, it's a state the size of Alberta,
Right.
basically. It's more populous. It's about 8 million people.
Yeah.
Um, the 12 largest cooperatives, agricultural cooperatives in that state, they are responsible for over 45% of the GDP
Wow.
of that state.
Wow.
Over $20 billion, uh, just on transactional aspects, and they are responsible also for over 50% of the exports that come out of that state.
Very interesting. And we're lucky to have you in the county with your expertise and also on the board. Um, could you tell us, I know you talked a bit about solar. So your company, Navigatio Capital, you're the president and founder of that company. What type of, what's the business scope and kind of maybe just, I think you've kind of went over a bit about the company as well, but
Sure.
what kinds of sectors do they invest in?
Okay. So Navigatio Capital is more an advisor, intermediary. We ourselves, at this moment at least, we don't have the capital in our resources to invest, but we advise for private equity that does have the capital. It started. Navigatio commenced about 10 years ago, thinking about international business development. It has morphed into investment attraction, and we have narrowed our focus down from agribusiness
Hmm.
and renewable energy to specifically renewable energy at this moment. We
Okay.
still do entertain sort of agribusiness activities, but it's not our focus at the moment. So we're
Understood.
focused on investment attraction into renewable energy, and we work in North America, more specifically in Alberta, and because this is the only deregulated energy market in Canada. But we're also very active in South America, and specifically in Brazil, with a number of transactions occurring down there. So what we try to do is filter and scope and filter viable, bankable projects, and connect them with private equity or equity that has interest in funding these projects, or acquiring these projects to fit within their portfolio of assets.
Understood. No, that's great. And so when you talk about you're kind of working with the equity funds, you'll find an opportunity for an investor and then match it with those funds. What type of projects are you looking for? Like, what's your sweet spot? I guess what I'm asking is a sector. I think you might have addressed that, but deal size, life cycle of
Sure.
companies, and any other requirements that would you things you would be looking at specifically.
Sure. Um, Navigatio has become specialized in fairly large utility scale projects. So we focus on renewable energy in
Hmm.
the 100 megawatt AC plus. So it's normally in the it depends on if it's wind or solar, but the capital expenditures of these assets.
Hmm.
But in essence, up above and beyond $100 million Canadian transactional capex. Now that we can intermediate between leverage institutions, debt institutions, but our focus is on the equity portion, that they
Yeah.
become partners or owners of the project, and facilitate their portfolio in that manner. We look for projects that are, yeah, let us put it this way. We look for projects that are very mature, very robust. They've done their due diligence. They've got their stakeholder engagement. They have their leasing contracts in place. They have their how should we say, public engagement all in order. They have their agreements with the municipalities. They've done their homework in providing potential offtake capacity or purchasing of the power that will be produced. Not necessarily a direct line, but a path towards that. So we look for very mature projects. That said, we're also diversifying and assisting projects to reach that stage of full maturity, so that we know what is necessary, we know what investors are looking for. So at a certain point, the project perhaps doesn't have the wherewithal to bring it up to speed. So we assist the projects in that capacity as well.
Understood. Well, it's good information. Patrick, did you have any questions for him on the solar or anything related to the companies he's looking at?
Well, I guess my question, Marcus, would be just looking because you know the Strathmore region and the Wheatland region really well. What sectors do you see as an opportunity, even outside of what you focus on for investment support? But what do you see that could really flourish, you know, based on our geography, our land, population, and feedstocks?
Perfect. Well, touching base on what I work with now and know best at the moment, I think there's an opportunity to expand potential investment into renewable energy, and I know it's somewhat contentious in a way because it strikes a nerve with people. Well, why are we taking productive land out of production for this? And I get it. I'm a farmer from background, so I understand that complexity of it.
Mm-hmm.
However, the revenue stream that is provided for the landowner is steady and secure. It provides a tax structure for the municipality as well, very beneficial, and it provides jobs. So there's an amplitude of benefits for renewable energy. We're not taking jobs away from oil and gas. We're only aggregating. We're only bringing a new perspective, a new possibility to the revenue streams of everybody involved. Now, that being said, Patrick, I think Wheatland County is incredibly well placed for not only producing what we would say conventional agricultural production, the mixed production of cattle and grain, but we can use our strategic position in Wheatland County to. We saw the recent announcement of the protein-based transformation into meat or pseudo meat, and let's just face it. I wouldn't prefer it, but there is a big market for plant-based meat, plant-based eggs, plant-based all kinds of stuff, and we are strategically placed to utilize the location to bring in those resources, transform them, and ship them out to the American market. We have access to rail. We are close to the Calgary market. We are very well strategically placed for that. And not only that, we have another resource which is very valuable, which is our human resource. I mean, we have people that are entrepreneurial. We have people that are educated. We have people that know how to take chances, take risks, and benefit on those risks. It's a very how should we say, the environment for creating potential new investments or new economic development aspects in the Wheatland County is very great, simply also because of the cost, because we are very competitive with the US market due to our currency. We're very competitive with even the Calgary region, because anything within the 20-kilometer region of Calgary is if it's not double the price, it's at least 30 to 40% higher than in land acquisition and tax base. So we have great advantages. We have great benefits here in the Wheatland County, and I think we have the entrepreneurs here willing to do it. We just have to shift the mindset. We just have to shake ourselves a little bit and say, well, what can we do? What can we do better than somebody else? How can we attract that and bring them into the mix and bring them into the fold? And I think you guys are doing a fantastic job of enlightening people, but also attracting these possibilities to the county. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, we appreciate your perspective on that. And just to echo kind of what you're saying there, Wheatland, from the research I've done, has the lowest cost agricultural land in the region, and it also has the lowest industrial land cost per acre in the Origin Business Park of the surrounding areas, including the Calgary region, obviously. But and that's something that we found as well. So I'm glad you kind of raised that.
There's a lot of potential, definitely. Yeah.
Definitely. No, I see a lot of potential in the region. There's so many different sectors, and then so many different, I guess, values that we bring, and as well as competitive advantages that would be beneficial to an investor. I got a question based on your perspective in working with companies that are looking for funding, as well as working with capital and equity firms or venture capitalists. What kind of things do you like to see in a presentation when an investor comes, or not an investor, but a company comes to pitch to you and present their story and what they're offering? What kind of things do you like to see in that presentation?
Yeah, that's very good. I think it's very pertinent also. Entrepreneurs, they have a vision, a scope, a perspective of their project, and it's always good. They envision it. They know how to get things done. They're very hands-on people and very adept at getting the things done. If they're looking for financing, they do have to shift their mindset a little bit to have the perspective of the investor and not their perspective. So the presentation should be based upon the perspective of what's in it for the investor, and not necessarily what's in it for the entrepreneur.
Right.
So it's a little bit different mindset that you have to present in that presentation. Also, when you're doing your verbal and in-person presentations. And one thing that investors always like to see is clear and objective goals that they know they can be reached. So the team who's behind it, what their objective is, what their expectations of the revenue streams and how they will reach those revenue streams. But above and beyond all else, they want the investor wants to know what it's going to cost them. Often the project developer or the company says, I have a project, I invest, you're gonna make a lot of money. And certainly, but they don't even know what to ask for from the investor. How much is it going to cost the investor?
Right.
And how much you plan to make the investor over a certain period of time. So you can say, well, we have a exit strategy in 3 years. We're going to sell this off to a big multinational. Okay, as long as you know that, as long as that strategy is in place, you can demonstrate it and show it to the investor. And they say, yeah, that's absolutely within our purview. That's where that's our sweet spot, and the cost as well. Or no, this is an infrastructure project. It's a long-term play. It's 10 years out. You're going to invest, there's going to be steady revenues over the next 10 years, and you're going to just be able to pay off your stakeholders with that rate of return that we expect. So it's clear definitions of how much it costs and what the returns you expect to have within the project.
Excellent. Yeah, no, that's good insight for companies that might be looking for investment. So if those companies are interested in contacting you and in the space that you are involved in with the clean energy and the specific deal size and so forth, how could they get a hold of you and reach you?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if you can put a link on the thing, but my email, my website is navigatio360.net. And my contacts, I say whoever has the gumption to contact me, I'll give them the time of day, and we'll have a conversation, and hopefully that I can learn something from them, and hopefully they can learn something from me in any case, and if it evolves from that, then we take it from there.
Excellent. Well, excellent. Patrick, did you have anything to add?
No, I'm just really glad that Markus, that you're part of our working crew with the Economic Development Board of the county, and I've worked with you on the board, our regional Chamber of Commerce board with Strathmore Wheatland. So yeah, I'm glad that you're engaging with our efforts as well and being a part of it. So
well, if I may, I wanted to just segue from that, Patrick, is that just as you did with the Stampede Investment Forum, Jamie, I think that this connection of people, it may not have a immediate return, but it has a long-term return. And what you're doing today, how you are connecting people within the investment attraction, within the business development, Patrick, doing that with the Infinite WC, arranging the brand, and having a vision for Wheatland County. It's hats off to both of you, and I'm very glad to participate, and I will try to help wherever I can.
Excellent.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. Just for our subscribers out there, wherever you may be, whether it's an EU country or Brazil or America or local, please like and subscribe on the WC Conversations YouTube channel. We also encourage you, for further information, to visit our websites, infinitewc.ca, infinitewc.ca, or you can also go to the Wheatland County website at wheatlandcounty.ca. Excellent. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Markus. We look forward to continuing the conversation.
All right. Thanks a bunch, guys. All the best.
Thanks.